like you had guys that coming in and having their own irons design, like say a Rory, a DJ. You know, those guys were having their own clubs designed, and probably Justin Rose felt a bit like, oh, you're not looking after me as much. You go to Honda and you're big fish and you're getting treated like God. But like I say, you move away from that now, and he's like, well, I'll just use whatever I want. So Justin Rose, what's in the bag?
Justin Rose, what's in the bag? His ball is the 2021 version of the TaylorMade TP5. So nothing too extreme there.
Used that ball before.
He's been using TaylorMade golf balls for a long time, so that's not too strange. His putter is the Axis Rose Proto. So a lot of people seen that putter. What is it? Is it like a... What, I can't remember. Is it like a toe balance or something weird?
I don't actually know a lot about it, if I'm dead honest, but it's a dead weird shape where the hosel goes into the head almost like backwards slightly.
I feel I might be wrong. If you hold it in your hand, rather than being like a face balanced or toe hang, it's like the opposite, but I might be wrong. I can't remember. But anyway, so he's used that for a long time.
Quite good to get one to test, actually.
And then this is where it gets a bit interesting. So he's got a complete mixed bag of brands, which we're seeing more and more, obviously, from athletes or golfers who aren't sponsored. He's got 3 Vokeys, so again, arguably the number 1 wedge in golf, so nothing too surprising there. He's got Mizuno irons, so again, it's renowned as being the best iron brand. Then rather weirdly, has a Strixon, is it 4 iron, which is again maybe not something you'd think of. That was a bit weird, but if he likes it, he likes it. And then this is where for me it got interesting. His fairway woods, he had an M4, which is obviously like 2 models old now.
Yeah.
3 wood, and then he had an M. Oh no, sorry, that's so it goes old Sim, then M5, M6, which 3 models old. Yeah. Then his 5 wood was an M6, so 2 models old. And this was the big one. His driver was an M1, TaylorMade M1 from 2017. So since then, we've had the M3, the M5, the Sim.
Well, you could even count M4.
Well, they kind of go with it, don't they? So if you go for the actual movable weight one, they had M1, 17, and they had M3, M5, Sim, and now obviously the Sim 2. So it's like 4 years old.
Yeah.
And he could use any driver in the world he wants. What does that tell you?
It's a really interesting one with Justin. I mean, recently we bashed Bryson for using an old driver as well back in the day, right? So Bryson ended up using an old driver when he won at Bay Hill. He was using a driver, the LET Pro, and we bashed it for being 4 years old. And then I think he put a rad in this week and whatever. I think with Justin, because he's not a brand partner, he's not selling product for any company now. So if you don't know the story, 2 years ago he split ways with TaylorMade. He decided to sign with Honma, which is quite a controversial move at the time because he was the world number 1. He did have a couple of TaylorMade bag clubs still in the bag. Even when he signed with Honma, it wouldn't have been a 14 bag deal. He's had that Axis putter in the bag for quite a while. Then he kind of moved off from Honma. The start of... When did he move from Honma? It must have been a while ago because we were in the old office. Do you remember when he moved? Yeah, when he moved from Honma. I think it was
end of 2019, possibly. We've actually did a podcast on it. So if you look at the titles of the podcast, you'll probably see it.
So he moved away from Honma then. Then he kind of went back into a very mixed set and a lot of TaylorMade clubs with a bit of mixed match. But now, like he's gone back to a driver there. Was that the driver that he was using potentially when he was world number 1 before he moved to Honma?
I don't think it would have been because I think it would have been M3 or M5.
So the version before.
I think it would have been.
So it's like he's gone back to that. Obviously, drove the ball incredibly well most of the week anyway. He's not selling products for any company. I'm sure TaylorMade weren't the biggest fan of it. It would have been very interesting if Justin Rose would have won with that driver. How the TaylorMade... Do
you not think they would have liked it?
I don't know. I don't think they would have done.
Yeah. It depends how you look at it because with the discussion we had on Bryson was that when he's using a Cobra driver, they want him to be using the latest and greatest so that it sells drivers, and the guys that sell a product to pro shops and go in and say this is the driver that Bryson's using, etc. But TaylorMade, though, would it have been, because they wouldn't be able to market him, I don't think, because they don't pay him, but to know that someone's using their product, even though it's an older product, they probably would still like it.
Yeah. I think the thing is with the Cobra one, and you're right with Bryson, is the fact that he was on adverts promoting the rad. and then not having that in the bag like that. That is technically wrong, I think, when you've got an athlete using a driver in the promotion, saying it's this, that, and the other, yet they use one that's not the actual same. But like I say, Justin Rose isn't tied to any brand. It's interesting that he's using Mizuno irons, but he's not the first tour player that used Mizuno irons with a non-contracted. Players like Kasich, Koepka was using Mizuno for a long time when he won his majors. So it is a very, very popular brand for non-contracted players. And we've had, Mizuno is a brand where they're not probably going to go out and shell a load of money to buy Justin Rose because they just don't see it in there.
That does more for your brand, I think, them using it out of choice than you paying £1 somebody to use it.
It's just hard you can't use it for advertising, which is annoying for the brand, and you can't really shout about it. It's almost like not everybody knows about it. But again, it goes back, how much does that actually shift clubs?
I don't know, but does that almost sell it more in a weird way? Because it's like you can't talk about it, but then people think they want to talk about it. Because I don't know, it's a strange one. I think you're going to see more players going for these mixed bags. For me, it makes sense. If you're Tiger Woods or Rory, Dustin, who's getting paid an absolute fortune to use one brand, and in that case, TaylorMade, why not? Because they can make everything you want, hand milled and everything, so the exact specs you want. So obviously Tiger got made a set of irons, as has DJ, as has Rory, etc. by TaylorMade. But if you're like a high to mid-level PGA Tour player, is what the brands are willing to pay you worth it versus what you play and what you want? Do you know what I mean? Like, let's say if Callaway come in now and offer Justin Rose £1 million a year. I don't know what that, if it'd be more than that or less, but let's say they offer £1 million a year. Is it worth it to him at this stage in his career?
Yeah, probably.
Whereas
not
if he
now.
gets offered 20 million by a Honma, which is obviously what I don't know what he got offered, but he obviously got a big money deal and jumped ship, but probably quite quickly realised that they weren't the best clubs for him.
I think what he found certainly with TaylorMade, and we've been over this topic before, he just felt like he wasn't the golden child at that brand anymore. Like, you had guys that coming in and having their own irons design, like say a Rory, a DJ. Those guys were having their own clubs designed, and probably Justin Rose felt a bit like, oh, you're not looking after me as much. You go to Honma and you're big fish and you're getting treated like God. But like I say, you move away from that now, and he's like, well, I'll just use whatever I want.
I like it when they use what they want.